Alright, this is video number 3 in the data unit to help you prepare for the HSA, and this is a continuation of the mean, median, and mode that we talked about in the last two videos, but this time we're going to talk about grouped data. So if you look at the example, and this page is in your packet, it shows you scores for a set of tests. Now this time in your table, you have a column that says the frequency, which means that the score of 65 occurred twice. There are 2 students who scored a 65, 3 students scored a 70, 2 students scored a 75, 5 students scored an 80, etc. Now we could put the data into calculator, and we could put 65 in twice, and we could put 70 in 3 times and 75 in twice. Or we can use toList because it is a frequency chart. Again, it tells how often the data occurs. So when you're going to enter the data, you're simply going to use 2 columns. So you'll use list number 1 and you'll use list number 2. And so you can see that the grades or the scores have been entered in list number 1, and the frequency, in other words, how often those scores occur, are in list number 2. Now the only difference, you're still going to use the stat button on your calculator to find the mean, median, and mode, but when one variable of statistics appears on the home screen, you have to tell the calculator to use list number 1 and list number 2. Remember, before we were telling the calculator you only one list. So it's very important that you understand that the only time you use this is when you have a frequency table and the data is used more than one time. Other than that, the only other thing you have to do is to make sure that you tell the calculator list number 1 and, with a comma, list number 2. Alright, let's take a look at an example of this. There are 30 employees at a company, and the table below shows their annual salaries. Find the mean, median, and mode of the employees. So I have my calculator up, and I'm going to enter the data. So the first salary is $50,000. The second salary, whoops, let's clear that because I'm in list number 2. Let's go back to list number 1. Okay, 50,000. Oops, I typed 500,000. One more time. 50. And then the second salary is 60,000. The next salary is 70,000. The next, oops, this board calculator can be quite sensitive. So 70, 1, 2, 3. Oh, this thing wants to be aggravating. And then we have a salary of 80,000. Okay, and then when we go to list number 2, the 50,000 a year salary occurred 15 times. 15 employees earned that. Then 5 employees earned 60,000. 9 employees earned 70,000, and 1 employee earned 80,000. Okay, so the data is in my calculator, and remember, I'm just going to go back to stat. I'm going to have the calculator calculate. It is still one variable statistics, but I'm going to tell it to operate on list number 1, which is second 1, comma, which is above the 7, second L2. Now remember, it's very important that you practice using your calculator when you do these examples. I'm going to press enter, and you can see that the mean X bar, remember the mean is X bar, is 58,667 if we're rounding off to the nearest dollar. The median will have to go down is 55,000. And then the mode you can figure out by looking at the chart. You can see that 15 employees earned $50,000. So it is the salary that occurred most often. Mode is the most. All right, now the question that they're asking you here is, suppose you decided it was time for a raise. Which measure of central tendency would you use to convince your employer? If you wanted a raise, you would want to show your boss that your salary is too low, or that the salaries were too low. So in that case, you would want to talk to your boss about how 15 people make $50,000, only one person makes $80,000, and so you think it's time for a raise. All right, let's do one more. The next example is employees at Papa John, and it's another income. I don't know how often this income is. Let's see what it says. The table below shows their monthly income. So we're going to go back to Stat, Edit. Remember to clear the calculator. You put the cursor on the top of the list, press clear, and then enter. And then do the same thing with list number 1, clear, and then enter. All right, there's a salary of $500 monthly, salary of $450, $400. You should be entering these on your calculator as well, and not assuming that just because you watch this that you will know how to do it. The most important thing to be successful in the HSA is to practice and practice and practice. Okay, let's go back up. That's 200. Okay, and then there were 4 people who earned $500. One person earned $450. 2 people earned $400. One person, one person earned $300. 3 people earned $250. And one person earned $200. All right, so here we go back to the calculator. Stat, Calc, one variable statistics, list 1, comma, list 2, enter. And so we can see that for this data, the mean, X bar, is 375. We'll go down for the median. The median is $400. And the mode is the number that occurs most often in the chart. The $500 salary occurs 4 times. If you want to ask for a raise, which measure of central tendency should you use? And in this case, you would want to use the mean, because if you want a raise, you want to indicate that the salaries are low and that you need a salary increase. And there's another example here that you should do and practice with your calculator. Okay, the next thing that we want to talk about in terms of data are some vocabulary terms. This is in your packet, and it's very important that you look at these definitions and you know what they mean. The range of a set of data is the difference between the highest and the lowest. So in other words, you want to take the highest value in the data and subtract the lowest value in the data, and that gives you the range or the spread of the data. So in this example, find the range of the numbers of wins. We want to find the highest value in the data. So let's see, 45 appears to be the highest. And now let's find the lowest. There's a 19, there's a 14, 40 appears to be the lowest. So 45 minus 14, which is 5 minus 4 is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3. 31 is the range of the data, or the spread of the data from the highest to the lowest. Now, the next definition, quartiles and interquartile range. Data can be divided, there are 3 quartiles, divide the data into 4 equal parts. In just a minute, or in the next video, we're going to look at what's called a box and whisker graph. The upper quartile divides the top half of the data into 2 equal parts. The lower quartile divides the bottom half into 2 equal parts. And the middle quartile is the median of the data. The upper and lower quartile values are used to determine the interquartile range. The difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile is called the interquartile range. So in example 1, this was the overall range of all the data, overall range. This is an interquartile range, and we often denote it with IQR, interquartile range, and it's quartile number 3 minus quartile number 1, versus the overall range is the highest minus the lowest. Okay, I'm going to stop this video at this point, and then I'm going to go to video number 4 to show you how to use or how to find this information using your calculator. So make sure you watch video number 4 to figure this out.